You said
Hello,
you had.
friends. Hello. My name is Vivian Ward, and on behalf of Crafted for Action, I would like to welcome you all to our next session here, which is grief, trauma, and mental health within the beer industry, with our lovely host, Aaron, here. Please feel free to leave your questions and engage with the panel by leaving a comment in the chat, and our presenter will be sure to leave enough time at the end to answer and address any comments. So thank you so much for being here, Aaron, and we're going to turn it over to you.
Thank you guys for being here. So, my talk is on grief, trauma, and mental health in the beer industry and beyond. Um, a little background: who am I? I'm a clinically trained and board certified chaplain, now working as a bereavement coordinator for hospice, doing lots of grief counseling. How did I get here? I'm really glad you asked. So, preface, I'm about to share a lot of my personal story, which will not be on the screen, but you can listen and engage with me later. Hold your questions till the end. I believe that as long as someone is being truly, authentically themselves, it breeds vulnerability, and that creates space for someone to have a conversation and for you to get to know who someone really is. So, I'm going to share some really deep stuff here with you guys from my personal story that informs my work, who I am, and how I got here. So I'll begin. I grew up in South Georgia with my twin brother. I guess you could say I had a decent life, but there are a few very big things that threw a wrench in how I thought my life was supposed to go. Have you ever seen the film Inside Out? I'm sure everybody's heard of it by now. It's a great movie about problems we have hiding beneath the surface: our anger, our frustration, our worry, our sadness, our depression, and our anxieties, and much more. In this beautiful movie, emotions are personified as these characters inside the head of a little girl as she navigates life at a very young age with family. It's a movie that can help us teach us some about regulating our own emotions. The second one is out now, and I'll have to go and watch it soon. I'll talk a little bit more about this later and connect it back to everything I'm going to say. A lot of this is from my own learning and experience and will help tie into the beer industry and beyond. Back to the story. For some reason or another, around my senior year of high school, I got really worked up about health and a lot of other things. This caused me to worry a lot about, well, life, health issues, whether real or not, and more. My fears really got the best of me. I began having what I thought were nervous breakdowns over sometimes seemingly simple things. Then I was finally able to put my finger on what was happening to me. I had anxiety. It was deep rooted, built up for a while, but started coming out. I was having lots of debilitating, disruptive, and very uncomfortable, uneasy feelings that I didn't know what to do with. I learned that these were actually panic attacks. Quite scary. My feelings of stress and worry over lots of things in my life had triggered them. They began to be so bad I couldn't go to school. I could barely sleep. But thankfully, eventually, I was able to tell myself I was okay, and I kept telling myself, it's just all in my head. I'm the one creating these symptoms because of my fears and my worries. Fast forward only a few months. I was 17. I just graduated high school. My brother and I were about to go to college and had been accepted into a prestigious private school. Then, out of nowhere, in the early morning hours following his birthday, our dad passed away. It was suddenly from a very massive heart attack. He was feeling unwell earlier, and we took him to the hospital, but everything happened so fast, right as we pulled up, and it was too late. His death rocked my world very hard. I still went to college with my twin brother, but I became severely depressed. I ate too much. I became closed off. I slept all the time. I missed too many classes, and I let my grades slip. Even failed a few classes, unfortunately. I had no drive, no motivation. I felt devoid of hope. I felt devoid of meaning. I felt like the rug was pulled out from under me. My identity had been stolen. I didn't know if anything made much sense anymore about my life, my aspirations, my hopes, and my dreams. I was so unsure of everything. I no longer had that solid father figure to guide me through the formative years of what I call where I found myself, or finding myself. After my dad's death, his father was not too far behind. Maybe only 2 years later, he died from brain cancer that was found to be inoperable when they discovered it far too late. Then my dad's mother, my grandmother, who had been married to him, my grandfather, for almost 60 years, also passed only a year later. And my last living grandparent, my mom's mom, passed a year after that. And to top it all off, my dear cousin, my dad's nephew that he loved dearly and watched him grow up, died during the COVID pandemic. So why do I share all of these personal stories with you and everything I've been through? I am unfortunately intimately acquainted with death, with grief, with trauma, and anxiety. Through that process, in those formative years of my college experience, I learned a lot more about myself and began finding my unique calling and my gifts. These experiences propelled me to be where I am today, helping others through the same types of traumatic and stressful situations, and dealing with grief, sadness, loneliness, loss, and difficult news. I am there for people in their hardest of times because I know some of what it's like. My story and experiences have uniquely gifted and equipped me to be there for others. Now let's get back to beer for a little bit. That's what we're here for too, right? My journey with beer did actually begin in college. I remember the first beers I had were probably Guinness, maybe, or Yingling. I did have a few PBRs, of course, at local bars, and it was what was normal at the time. There wasn't a lot of craft beer around that scene in those days. It just really didn't do it for me. It wasn't that tasty. I just wanted something more. As college kept going, so did my curiosity. I wanted to learn more about beer. My friends and I began trying beers together, and we found a few breweries to go to. Way back then, yes, the beer laws here in Georgia were crap. You couldn't go into any brewery and just order a beer. No, you couldn't bring any home with you either. You had to purchase the tickets to do a brewery tour. Usually it came with a glass, sometimes ticket vouchers, maybe 4 to 6 pours of a beer, maybe half pour. The only ones around that we took trips to see and visit were Sweetwater and Terrapin here in Georgia, and then soon Creature Comforts a little later. Beer became a very enjoyable pastime and hobby, or passion, if you will. As the years passed, my brother and I still hung out with friends and would occasionally go to breweries together. We ended up going to Asheville several times after college and really enjoyed the beer scene up there. It's really busy and blossoming and always has been. And the delicious food and how close together all the breweries are. Just a great, great community. I had my own chance to work in the beer industry. I worked for a brief stint at a brewery and restaurant here in Atlanta, coincidentally while my career path trajectory was just taking off as well. My path to beer nerd started there at the brewery at this time. I immersed myself in the passion of the beer craft, the brewing process, and began my own home brewing and learning every single day. Yet, while all that was happening, I noticed a lot of the things at the brew pub that I worked at. Stress was everywhere. You had chefs yelling at their people and not treating people right who were under them very well, talking in a heavily condescending manner, yelling, being mean. It's a restaurant and brewery, so you had servers, waitstaff, food runners, bussers, everybody in front of house, back of house. Very fast-paced, high energy. I did mention stressful, but it definitely always was. It was go, go, go every day, all the time. You had to get a lot done for setup, tear down of events, clock in, clock out. Somehow, some way, find time for yourself to eat, take a break. I've seen plenty of people at the brewery lose it and walk out and never come back because of how crazy it could be. I've seen mental breakdowns of my coworkers and of my friends in the beer industry and at the brewery. I've seen more than I'd like to admit in the beer industry. And as my love and passion for that grew, and my love and passion for the work I do, they began to meld together hand in hand. Now, I love the beauty of creativity that we see in forms like art, poetry, films, videos, and songs. They help tell a story in very creative ways. That's why I have several videos I'm going to share with you that can help tell a story of my own learning to share with you. We'll start with this one.
Hey, Aaron, we can't see. We're still on the first slide, so I don't know if you want to scroll through where the video is playing, but we won't be able to see it.
Okay, I just scrolled through. Let me see. It's sharing on my screen. 1 second. Can you see it now or no?
Yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
I had to take it off of presenter mode. All right, let me know if you can hear it okay.
I was going into a role that I didn't ask for.
All good.
I was absent, so it was me and him. And instead of me protecting him, I kind of isolated myself, and he didn't understand. I could give it all to take me to when I was a kid in the backseat, driving down the road in the country. I don't want to go, could take her out in the front seat. When you time to escape me, I could give it all to be free. I want to know, and I don't wanna choke you. Wish I could go, touch the walls that contain me. That's why right now I gotta go. Driving so fast, yet I'm moving so slow. Too late, I'm getting on. Cliffside's coming, I'll be driving over the edge. I wanna be somebody. I wanna hold someone. When I grow up, and I'm free, and the stars are drawn, to the boundary, and I've been drawn, and I'm weak, my knees. If I don't know, probably all be fine. You hear it all the time. What I find is there's pieces of him that I'm not remembering. I don't like that. I wish I could see him again. Think of what you took for granted. Think of what you got that you wanted. But it goes and you can't replace it. No expressions, not to waste it. Be grateful. You gotta be grateful. That's why right now I gotta go. I'm so fast, you're moving so slow. Feel like I'm getting on. That's coming every time you come to the edge. Wanna be somebody. Wanna love someone. I grow. I'm free. Stars in my body. I'm me. I'm your joy. I'm weak, my knees. If I don't know, probably I'll be fine. You hear it all the time. And life's been moving fast. Time's just passing by, running red and beaming bright. Time don't give a damn if we're broken, fading white. I never knew that life could move so fast. That's why right now I gotta go. Driving so fast, yet I'm moving so slow. too late and getting on. Close that's coming, I'll be driving over the edge. I wanna hold someone. I wanna be somebody. I've experienced a lot of grief. But I know that he'd want me to find joy again.
All right, let's go to the next one. I'll keep it in this kind of presenting mode, or not presenting mode, so everyone can see the videos better. So I'm going to give an overview of grief and trauma and mental health, a really brief overview, and from some of my experiences. Obviously, that video was a lot about grief and loss. What is grief? Well, I'm well acquainted with it, as I assume some of you are in the room. Grief is a natural reaction to loss that can be strong and overwhelming emotion. It can be experienced in many different ways. There's no wrong way to grieve. People may tell you that you should be doing this or that or already be over it by now. It is unique to you personally. Your grief experience is your own and no one else's. Grief can affect both your physical and mental health and can include a range of emotions, actions, and expressions. You might feel numb, closed off, not interacting with people and friends like you used to. Grief can be from the death of a loved one, the ending of an important relationship, job loss, loss through theft, or the loss of independence through disability. There's too many things that encompass what grief really is. Here's another really powerful video. Let me know it's coming through.
Don't wanna go, trying to keep the tired of fire. Bring me to sweep up my pieces. It's only weakness. Give me the strength that I wanna fall. When I don't know how to deal with it all, the waves overthrow me. The fire and the song, I can't get my oxygen. I can't get my oxygen. Maybe I'm done with the violence. Maybe they're not innocent. Maybe it's all in the past. Deep down here in the flesh. Maybe I'm done with the violence. Maybe they're not innocent. Maybe it's all in the past. Deep down here in the flesh. Maybe I'm done with the violence. When you got hurt, you wanted to scream, but all you said was into a dream. Didn't you notice? We're just a witness. Open your eyes, look at the signs. Think of the hate you've been holding inside. The wave can uplift you, 'cause it's not their fault if you can't get your oxygen. I can't get my oxygen. Maybe I'm done with the violence. Maybe there's already something. Maybe it's all in the time. Maybe I'm done with the violence. Maybe Maybe it's all that I'm deep down here in the fight. Maybe I'm trying. Maybe I'm done with the violence. Maybe with love it'll make sense. Maybe it's all in our intent. Deep down we are innocent. Maybe I'm done with the violence. Maybe with love it'll make sense. Maybe it's all in our intent. Deep down we are innocent.
Another very powerful video. Obviously, that has to do with a lot that was packed in there, but there's a lot of trauma as well. Trauma is when we experience very stressful, frightening, or distressing events that are difficult to cope with or out of our control. It could be one incident or an ongoing event that happens over a long period of time. Most of us will experience an event in our lives that could be considered traumatic. This distressing event or series of events can cause the intense physical and psychological stress reactions. Traumatic events can have lasting adverse effects on a person's mental and physical health, emotional and social well-being, and spiritual well-being. So how do you talk to someone about mental health if they're experiencing it, if you're experiencing it? My tips: truly listen to them and connect with their issue. Imagine as if it were happening to you. Step in their shoes. Feel with them. Be present. Learn how to have empathy for them. Show compassion and kindness. Don't judge. Focus on listening and not fixing. You're there for them. Your job is not to fix them. What does it mean to have empathy? Well, I'll show you some videos about that in a minute. But here are 3 different types of empathy to know. Affective empathy is the ability to respond to other people's emotions appropriately. Somatic empathy is the ability to feel what another person is feeling, like within your body. Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand someone's response to a situation. Now we got 2 videos that are a little bit funny in nature, so laugh if you like. Understanding empathy versus sympathy.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, No, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb. but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put this a little lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Amen. So much truth in that video. Now, this next one is about listening. This next one's really about truly listening to someone from a pretty comedic perspective, but it's not about the nail.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. No,
Come on. If you would just
don't.
Very comedic, but very true story about how we listen to people, how you truly listen to someone without offering judgment and not offering your bias and your perspective. Now, what is this term resiliency, and why do we need it? Resilience is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustment to external and internal demands. It's about how quickly you can bounce back after or during dealing with intense trauma, death, loss, and more. How do you begin to feel normal again? Building on this can help you have a better sense of coping mechanisms and strategies and improve your emotional muscle memory for recovery. That's what resiliency is. In the beer industry and elsewhere, there's a huge stigma for mental health. I've seen it. I've experienced it. It's everywhere. You may have experienced it yourself. Mental health is a big deal. Not enough people talk about it, especially in the beer industry. It seems as if we are expected to keep up the fast pace and suck it up and move on. Even if you're dealing with something, there isn't enough time in the workday to talk about it, and managers don't appear to allow workers to have those conversations with others, as it'll look like idle time that you're not contributing to the team and restaurant or brewery needs. Here's some statistics. More than half of people with mental illness don't receive help for their disorders. That's sad. Often people avoid or delay seeking treatment due to concerns about being treated differently or fears of losing their jobs and livelihood. That's because stigma, prejudice, and discrimination against people with mental illness are still very much a problem. Stigma, prejudice, and discrimination on all of that can be subtle or obvious, but no matter the magnitude, they can lead to harm. People with mental illness are marginalized and discriminated against in various ways, but understanding what that looks like and how to address and eradicate it can help. Stigma often comes from lack of understanding or fear. Inaccurate or misleading media representations of mental illness contribute to both these factors. A review of studies on stigma shows that while the public may accept the medical or genetic nature of a mental health disorder and the need for treatment, many people still have a negative view about those with mental illnesses. What can you do to help stop the stigma? Educate yourself and others. Learn about mental illness and substance use disorders and share facts and experiences to dispel myths and negative stereotypes. You can also encourage equality between physical and mental illnesses by comparing how you would treat someone with mental illness to how you would treat someone with cancer or diabetes, maybe. Be very mindful of your language. Use appropriate and sensitive language when describing yourself or others, and remind people that words matter. Focus on the positive. Talk openly about mental health, and focusing on that positive really does bring a good impact. Provide opportunities for contact. Interacting with people who have mental illness can help reduce the stigma. You can collaborate with people who have mental health conditions to share their experiences and to challenge that stigma. And showing compassion and support. Listen to and empathize with people who are experiencing mental illness and provide compassion and support instead of judging or blaming them. This can help people feel more comfortable to seek help and talk about their experiences. So what do you do with all this? So my take, shift your mindset, reframe your perspective about mental health and more. Is that a rose bush that happens to have thorns? Or is that a thorn bush that happens to have roses? It's all about perspective. Negative self-talk is harmful to your ego. Combat it with positive self-talk and positive thinking. Learn to give yourself a pep talk. Give yourself positive affirmations even daily if needed. It can be helpful. Befriend your emotions. They aren't there to harm you. Let them be your teachers. You remember I said I was coming back to Inside Out, right? Well, here we go. Now's that time. Treat your grief, your sadness, or insert mental health issue or emotion here as a tangible thing. Think of it as your friend. I want you to befriend that and learn from it. Instead of letting it get you down, ask yourself, what is this grief, sadness, insert emotion here, teaching me right now about myself, about others, about how I cope, and why? How or when did I first learn about and experience this emotional response? What can I learn or unlearn about myself? Why am I the way that I am? And what makes me respond in this way? Next steps. Create connections. That's where your encouragement, love, and trust are built, where your vulnerability and your comfort thrive. Nurture yourself and be a part of good, wholesome, loving friend groups and communities that you know will have your back. Identity. Know your worth. You and anyone dealing with mental illness are more than your condition. Pursue passion and find your purpose. In the search for meaning in your own world, you may find greater belonging in the communities that you are a part. Finding and developing your passions and hobbies greatly increases your self-worth and can build those resiliency muscles. If you see something, say something. Speak up. People always need a friend and a sounding board, even if they say they don't. It's always good to find someone to talk to about things if you really need to. Learning to let go. You see that anxiety, that depression, or something else creeping up in your spirit? Learning to let go of the things that are no longer serving you and find the things that do. Learning to not allow these things to affect you as deeply is a practice well worth taking the time to master. Trust me, I'm still doing it. Nurturing self-care. Find helpful self-practices to bring you inner peace, calmness, and joy. Do what moves you, whether that's running, walking, jogging, gathering with friends for a craft beer session at a brewery or two, listening to audiobooks, podcasts, binging fun TV shows, journaling, writing, blogging. Find those things that speak to the core of your being and allow you to release the tension, stress, and anxieties of your day. Be intentional with this because you're learning to cope here. One mentor of mine actually loves to garden. He helped train me in my first days of chaplaincy. No matter what kind of day he had, whether it was a really tough day, touch and go, no matter what he had on, even if you could consider that his Sunday best with a nice suit and tie, immediately when he got home, he dug his hands right into the dirt of Mother Earth. That's one of his self-care practices. He releases all of the tensions and stresses from the day by the joyous act of nurturing plants and creativity and gardening. This simple yet powerful act helps to redirect your mind, thoughts, moods, and attitudes into something much better. You got to get it out. It's got to go somewhere. So what helpful ways can you do that? What do I do for myself? Well, I go to therapy as needed. I do breathwork exercises, meditation, surround myself with encouraging and supportive friends who have my back. And I do play with Legos still, even as an adult. Star Wars Legos, those are great. What do you do? Or what will you commit to doing to take care of yourself and to release your heavy emotions and your stress? Help end the stigma surrounding mental illness. It's not something to be afraid of or to shy away from. It's real and it's not going away. Learn how to support and be there for people who are experiencing these issues. Be their ally and their friend. You never know, a simple thank you or kind words of appreciation and compassion might just save a life. Make sure you're in touch with yourself and your passions. If not, go out and get some more new fun hobbies. Let your passions guide you into new ways of doing and being in the world. Find your why. The mind, the body, and the heart are all interconnected. That's why it's very important that you learn to steer your own ship. What keeps you going? What's the reason behind everything you do? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What is your ultimate why? Don't let your mental issues conquer you. Learn to control and conquer them, and with the right help, friends, communities, and coping skills, you'll be all set. When you see darkness, that doesn't mean the light isn't there. Darkness is only the absence of light. As we know, darkness doesn't last forever. The sun always shines when there is still grief and sadness. How will you find your light? What will you commit to for yourself and for others? Will you be brave enough? I got a few more things and 2 more great videos for you, so I hope you enjoy.
Aaron, I don't know if a video is supposed to be showing, but we can't see. We can hear it.
Okay. All right. I guess you guys didn't know I was prepping you in Atlanta for the Brews and Beats later on tonight. No, I'm just saying this to be cool to get ready for that. I do have one more video coming up, so hopefully this one will show. If not, I have the lyrics for you. Go out and be brave. This song, Brave, is a song that celebrates the courage it takes to face life's toughest moments head on and the critical role of self-love in our journey to embracing bravery. Let me know if you can see it, but it's more important you hear the words. Can you hear it?
Never said goodbye. Broke out the cages. Lovers left behind. Walk with me to the water. Say from the time sirens sing every word. Say from the time close your eyes. You're still got it. Close your eyes. Still got it. So look
Well, thank you for allowing me to go on an auditory and visual journey with you, sharing my story and part of the things I'm doing. Here are some resources for you. I'm a partner with COPE, a platform that helps to boost resilience through neuroscience, mindfulness, and movement. It's a wonderful platform that can help you to learn to cope effectively, to be able to be tailored specifically to your needs. They have plenty of articles and coaches to help guide you however and whenever you need. Feel free to use the links as you are able. Also, National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. Find more out at NAMI.org. Georgia Crisis and Access Line. For immediate access to routine or crisis services, please call the Georgia Crisis and Access Line at the number there. They're also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you or someone you know care for in a crisis. They're now available in text and chat through an app they have. And they provide telephonic crisis intervention services, dispatch mobile crisis teams, assist individuals in finding an open crisis or detox bed in the United States, and link individuals with urgent appointment services. I'm also in partnership with The Giving Kitchen here in Atlanta. We provide emergency assistance for food service workers in the hospitality industry through financial support and a network of community resources. Small self-promotion. I created an LLC called Sacred Harmony and Wholeness to bridge the gap for mental health in the beer industry and beyond, focusing on helping underserved, marginalized, and minority communities to get therapy like supportive coaching and counseling services. Find out more at mysacredharmony.com or shoot me a message or a shout out at Instagram at mysacredharmony. Thank you for listening, and I hope this benefited you.
Aaron, thank you so much. We're a little over time, but there was a question in the chat earlier. If you could answer it really quickly before we have to skip off. The question was from the bearded brother. What are some tips to pivot your self-talk from negative to positive?
Negative, positive. Good question. Well, you have to identify why you're being negative. There's a root cause for what is causing yourself to be so negative, but it's about a reframing of your mindset, because if you're seeing something in negative light, you can always pivot that to something more positive, like the reference I made with the rose bushes, where whether it's a rose bush with thorns or it's a thorn bush with roses, it all comes at how you look at things, and you can reframe that perspective to something more positive, definitely.
All right. Thank you so much, Aaron, for sharing that. We know how important it is to just monitor your mental health and know the real definitions of these words so we are addressing things correctly. So thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you all for joining us virtually. And please take a moment to rate this panel using the link in the panel description or on the Watch Craft Beer Con page on the website. So thank you all again. Aaron, thank you for sharing space with us, and stick around. We have a couple of more sessions for you. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.